Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the official home of power mining analysis. What an event-filled morning it's been. Talk about volatility in the Bitcoin mining sector. We woke up this morning to a cryptic text from Senator Lummis promising some big news at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We are now hearing there may be a meeting between Trump and the president of El Salvador later this afternoon. Obviously, this is having a big impact on both the price of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Before we get into it, take a second, smash the like button, guys. Big help to myself and the channel. Anthony loves it. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below what you make of this morning's announcements, how you're feeling about Bitcoin overall, and the Bitcoin mining stocks heading into 2025. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, guys, so that's right. Thursday morning, what an event-filled morning it's been, Anthony. We woke up this morning to a cryptic text from Senator Lummis promising some big news at 10 a.m. Eastern. That led to a frantic buying frenzy for Bitcoin. The miners followed suit, and now we have additional rumors that Trump may be meeting with the president of El Salvador this afternoon. So we talk about volatility, use the analogy of a yo-yo, Anthony, but holy moly, what a morning in the Bitcoin land.
Yeah, it was. I mean, literally just after the markets opened, we started seeing action on Twitter, or X as it's called now. Lots of tweets about Senator Lummis and strategic reserve mentioned the same sort of like tweets. And I went on a Spaces meeting. There's 12,000 people on there, listening in to a panel discussing potentially what was happening. And Dennis Pauls was on that panel. David Bailey from Bitcoin Comp was on that panel. Ranua, there's a lot of top speakers on the panel there, and everything was focused. And all of a sudden, you could see the change in the tone as the news started coming through. It wasn't quite what they're expecting. However, the discussion carried on for another 40 minutes, and during that discussion, there's a lot of good points brought out. This is, more positive than people were giving it credit for at the time it was officially announced what was happening. So, yes, there was a vote today for the chair of the Committee for Digital Assets, and Senator Lummis has won the vote for that. So she's now the chair. She's actually in a very strong position now. She can call meetings and set agendas, and has effectively a lot of power in this space. And she's been probably the biggest advocate, I would say, in the last 12 months from Congress in terms of keeping the flag flying for Bitcoin. She was at the conference in Nashville, which we were very fortunate to be attended as speakers back in July. And she came on immediately after President Trump gave his hour's speech. And she had a document in her hand saying, this is what we're going for, for next year is the strategic reserve. So very, 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 very popular in the space, working along with teams now to get this rolled out. And also we've seen the impact we talked about yesterday in the podcast about the 11 states already at state level going forward this change in their legislation to incorporate a strategic reserve at the state level as well. So it's amazing how news can come out and how some of those early tweets were sort of misinterpreted, and the fun and games then started with the Bitcoin price, because we were literally on a phone call together and you told me the Bitcoin price is moving, and lo and behold, it had moved, in the space of minutes, up $3,000, well over 106,000. The mining stocks then started reacting to that as well, and we saw a big purge in the mining stocks, and then literally, 20 minutes later, that all came back down. The Bitcoin price came back down to 103. Mining stocks retreated as well. And then as the news settled down and people started to sort of go through it and understand what had happened, we saw the Bitcoin price then start to re-rally. And how did you find it, Bryce?
Well, it wasn't necessarily the strategic Bitcoin reserve announcement we were all waiting for, but I think, as you say, Anthony, this appointment of Senator Lummis carries a lot more weight than people initially thought. She was a huge advocate in Nashville. I remember her coming out on the stage with those papers in her hand and you and I looking at each other, Anthony. But interestingly enough, President Trump has also been making some big moves. So his fund actually continued to buy more wrapped Bitcoin yesterday. I looked into this. Well, it's not Bitcoin per se. It's a one-to-one equivalent or one-to-one backing based on the Ethereum blockchain. So very bullish there on this WBTC. Curious though, why maybe not just purchasing regular Bitcoin? And then he came out and made a statement to the Davos globalists saying, "We will make the United States the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto." Now, in addition to that, we also saw him free Ross Ulbricht on day 2. So, Anthony, we're starting to see a lot of positive catalysts. Not the SBR yet, but we're getting very close. And that leads us to the second big rumor mill going on today. This reported meeting between President Trump and Nayib Bukele this afternoon, potentially talking about further Bitcoin strategy.
Yeah, no, it's another big news story, and like you're quite right. It's been only a few days since the inauguration, and we're already seeing plenty of positive signs coming out. Him meeting some of those commitments he stated back in July when he spoke to the conference there. Interesting on that Spaces meeting, David Bailey, who actually heads up the Bitcoin conference team there, and he spoke on a Spaces meeting, and he believes strategic reserve will be in place within the next 100 days. So he's very bullish on this. There was a lot of talk in the space about where they felt was there more money coming into the Bitcoin space this year, and this is where it becomes interesting because we've had this discussion already in the podcast today about the cycle of money at the moment, where any new money coming in. What we're seeing money move from different asset class to different asset class. So yes, we're seeing the ETFs buy Bitcoin. We're seeing that the likes of MicroStrategy and some of those key companies go out there and still purchase Bitcoin. We're seeing the mining companies now predominantly hold Bitcoin, whereas most of them were selling Bitcoin on a regular basis 12 months ago. That's changed now. We've still got two or three that sell on a daily basis, but that was a far bigger number 12 months ago. There wasn't many companies hodling, but there are literally a lot more hodling now, and you can understand why. The price of Bitcoin above 100,000 puts in a different context. And if we think half the people who've estimated for the price at the end of this year are correct, then it's going to go a lot higher than it is at the moment. But yeah, it's been a sort of an up and down day today. I think Bitcoin price has been up and down at least 2 or 3 times today. So it's not for the faint-hearted. These news stories don't come out as often as we've seen in one day. That's a lot of news in one day, but we know news items can affect the Bitcoin price in a positive way, and also we've seen in a negative way as well. Go back to 2021 when Elon Musk announced that Tesla had Bitcoin on the balance sheet at that point in time, and the spike in Bitcoin price was phenomenal. Over the next sort of couple of months there, we saw it reach an all-time high of 69,000, and then as quick as it went up, he announced that he was selling some Bitcoin after the first quarter of holding it, albeit it was only a small, I think it was about 10%, just to test that he could sell it without any problems. And the Bitcoin price started to come down. And, so news items can have an impact on the price. And we've seen today quite clearly a number of mixed messages coming out initially can affect the Bitcoin price, but now it's settled down. They're starting to understand what that news really means. And we can see the Bitcoin price is it's holding in a nice pattern now than it was earlier.
Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Yeah, it certainly is. And as they say in the investing world, Anthony, you take the stairs up and the elevator down, it seems a lot of times in this world.
Yeah.
So, your points are great, though. And it is very interesting to me the weight and the power that this Twitter or X platform holds. Literally, with the tweet of just a few words, people can impact these multi-billion-dollar markets. Now, the other thing that's interesting here, Anthony, before we come on to current Bitcoin price and the mid-morning market update, we're starting to see some of the big CEOs in the banking finance world talking about new regulations coming in with this Trump administration. So the CEO of Morgan Stanley says the bank is working with regulators to offer Bitcoin and crypto transactions. We've also got the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, so obviously huge ETF player in this space, saying he wants the SEC to approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks. So we really are just at the precipice here, or scratching the surface of what we feel is to come for both Bitcoin, Bitcoin miners, and ultimately crypto. Now, that's a perfect segue, Anthony, to the current Bitcoin price, which is hovering in that $105,500, $105,600 range.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly a higher. I mean it was reaching under 102,000 early this morning when I sort of like was starting the day, and so I wasn't sure where the Bitcoin price was going, but it just seemed to be going in one direction from a couple of days ago, just this steady decline, and now we're at 105 and a half thousand, and it was well over 106,000 literally an hour and a half ago. So. Let's. It's still over that 100,000. We're in a good spot. The miners are in a good spot with this. There, the revenues they're achieving at this level are giving them great margins at the moment. We're still in them early days from the inauguration, so I think it's got a bit more to play out.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Interestingly enough, MicroStrategy fairly flat today as well. And with that being said, we can pull up the mid-morning miner update. Again, a ton of volatility here. Miners were down, then they were up huge, then they're up medium. Now looks to be green for the most part across the board, Anthony, but definitely some life coming into the mining sector with these big announcements out of the White House.
Yeah, most of the miners were certainly green earlier on in the day. There's a couple that have gone into the red now, but we're seeing reasonably good daily performance from IREN. It's picked up. Bear in mind it dropped off quite a lot earlier this week when they announced that 1 billion at the market offering to cover their capital costs as they grow out services at the Childress site, and also look to energize the Sweetwater site there, which is due to come online in just over probably about 15 months' time. So a lot of capital cost to get everything in order there, but they've got out and got an ATM, and they'll utilize that for doing. They've effectively used it really well over the last 18 months or so, and grown from what I would consider to be in Division Two as a mine, and to sort of like Premier League now. Along with the likes of CleanSpark and Marathon and Riot, in terms of size of hash rate, anything over 30 exahash needs to be given some due credibility. I mean, compare where they were, even just 12 months ago. So, Iron at the top today, CleanSpark having a good day, Cypher. Core Scientific's, has been fairly steady all the way through this. That HPC deal that we keep talking about is probably, it doesn't have the same volatility as some of the other mining stocks. We don't see any big swings in Core Scientifics in terms of increase and decline in share price, but we do see that in some of the other stocks there, and in more recent times as well. Marathon, Bitfarms, and Hive also showing green early trading today as well. So overall, positive picture on the Bitcoin miners. They're still a long way from their 52-week highs, though, so there's still some potential for improvement there. And bear in mind, when they were at these 52 weeks high, they were talking. Some of these companies have grown significant hash rate since that period. So I think there's still, some of these stocks, the more efficient mining stocks, are certainly looking to, grow market capitalization over these next few months in this bull cycle.
Yeah, they certainly are. There's still a few hours left in the trading day. We still have this potential meeting this afternoon between Trump and the president of El Salvador. So the day is far from finished. One other thing you brought up, though, Anthony, interesting point. talking about the number of menu items, I guess now, and the capital that's available, saying there's only so much capital in the world now that we have the ETFs, the Bitcoin miners, the MicroStrategy, all these various altcoins. There's only so much to go around. And it reminded me of a comment we got last night. Someone said the miners are finished, all the money's flowing into the ETFs. And I quickly reminded that viewer that the only way the ETFs are able to buy Bitcoin is if the miners are producing Bitcoin to sell to them and verifying the network. So I did want to remind people of that. The Bitcoin miners, unlike a lot of these other proxies, are fundamentally necessary to the Bitcoin network and its operation. You don't find that with ETFs, with any of the other proxies, MicroStrategy, any of the derivatives. So just wanted to throw that in, Anthony, and I'll kick it back to you for any closing thoughts.
Yeah, you raise a good point. I think I would definitely say looking at some of the social media sites that I currently monitor on a regular basis, money's moving out from, certainly from mining stocks into maybe AI or quantum, technology stocks. They seem to be having an equally bull cycle. So, there are lots of different assets, lots of different asset classes that are moving. Gold's at an all-time high at the moment as well. So, people who've moved into gold have done very well over this last 6 month period as well. And the Bitcoin price is over 100,000. Reached an all-time high of nearly $500 away from 110,000. So everything seems to be fairly positive. It's just that there's not an infinite amount of capital out there that can cover every base. So you are seeing people sort of juggling to try and get into the next thing they think is going to explode. But I've sort of, I'm resigned to holding my Bitcoin, which is doing very, very well over the last 4 or 5 years, and a selection of mining stocks that I think have got a good opportunity going forward. I'm very much more selective now than I was probably back in 2021. Said this before, learn a few lessons from one cycle, puts you in really good preparation for the next cycle, and I aim to be more prepared this time.
Most definitely. It's a great point you bring up. We're not jugglers on this channel. We're not traders. We're long-term, buy and hold, fundamental investors. That's the way we go about it. And I'll tell you right now, Anthony, my conviction in both Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners has never been higher than it is this morning. So you guys, let us know in the comment section below. How are you feeling about this morning's news? What's your conviction like in terms of the Bitcoin miners, and where do you think the price of Bitcoin's going over the next few months here? With that being said, thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.